Game week 2 is right around the corner, and with Game week 1 predictions and Game week 1 in all coming to an end, Game week 2 predictions are here, and I'm going to give you my outrageous predictions. I mean, to be fair, this is the same guy that said Arsenal vs Man United would be game of the season. But to be fair, this is also the same guy who got Leeds vs Everton correct. Like, spot on. But yeah, let's give you my Game week 2 predictions. Starting off with West Ham versus Chelsea. West Ham in the opening game week were terrible. They were absolutely awful. Losing 3-0 to newly promoted Sunderland, which I'm still baffled about. But yeah, Chelsea also opened up with a bore fest. They lost... Well, they didn't lose. They drew 0-0 to Crystal Palace. They could have lost, actually, if it wasn't for that controversial decision where Eze's free kick wasn't allowed. But yeah, if we look to their head-to-head stats, West Ham have not beaten Chelsea since August 2023. And that was a 3-1 win where Iward, Antonio and Paqueta scored. And that was also in Chelsea's banter era as well. But yeah, Chelsea have also beaten them 5-0 recently as well in May 2024. But yeah, Chelsea have done this scoreline at the London Stadium before. And I'm going to go with it again. 3-0 Chelsea. Yes, West Ham back-to-back 3-0 losses for you. It's not looking good for Potter. For the goal scorers, I'm going to go with Estevo, Neto and Chalobah. Second game, Manchester City versus Tottenham. This game will be game of the game week. I must say this right now. I mean, I'm saying this for all the good games, but Man City and Tottenham, you don't know what you're going to get out of it. Tottenham did beat Man City 4-0 at the Etihad last year, so you never know what could happen. This could also be 4-0, but I heavily doubt it. Tottenham last game did beat Burnley in a very convincing 3-0 win, which now sees my expectations for Tottenham be a bit higher. And Man City, on the other hand, won 4-0 in a stadium that, when they've played in it, they have lost in it before. And Man City have only won by 4 goals at the Molineux once before this, and that was when Kevin De Bruyne scored 4 with a 17-minute hat-trick as well, and then a 60th minute goal as well. But yeah, Man City vs Tottenham, this will be an easy win. I'm saying 3-1 City. City are getting back to their roots. They're gonna be probably champions this year, but even though I said Liverpool will win the league. And with the goal scorers, I'm going to go with Haaland. I'm backing Marmoush to score again. And then I'm backing Oscar Bob to score in the Premier League. And then for Tottenham, I'm just going to go with a late Kudus consolation goal. Bournemouth versus Wolves. Wolves have just been battered at the Molineux, so they're not going to look good after that. However, Bournemouth, they nearly got a draw at Anfield, which they could take the positives out of that. They were 2-2 at one point, but Bournemouth's defence looked a little shaky in that game. But I still back him to get a clean sheet in this match. But here's the thing, will Bournemouth score a lot? I mean, they have gotten new signings in Ben Doak, and they've just signed Adine Adley from Leverkusen. But I'm still going to say Bournemouth will win 2-0 from goals with Brooks and Evan Nielsen. Game number 4, Brentford versus Aston Villa. Brentford weren't the best against Forest. I'm going to say that right now. However, they did win the second half when Forest went 3-0 up in the first half. But then Brentford went on to score a goal in the second half when Forest didn't, so they could take the positives out of that. And Aston Villa, however, they are not looking good, I must say. They looked a little shaky against Newcastle, still got a draw, but I feel like this won't be an easy win. This won't be as big of a win as you'd think. Last time Aston Villa played Brentford at the G-Tech, it was a singular 1-0 win with a goal from Watkins. I'm predicting about the same here. Aston Villa will win 1-0 at the G-Tech. And instead of a goal from Watkins, it will be a goal from Morgan Rogers. Burnley versus Sunderland. This will be a good game. Although Sunderland don't have the best head-to-head record against Burnley, only winning 3, while Burnley have won 4, which is actually quite close if you think about that. Sunderland haven't beaten Burnley in the Turf Moor since August 2019, and that was when Sunderland were in League 1 and Burnley were in fact in the Prem that season, I think. But yeah, I back Sunderland to get their first win at Turf Moor in 6 years, and I'm going to say Sunderland will win 2-1 after their incredible win against West Ham. For Burnley, the goal scorer is going to be Lyle Foster, and the goal scorers for Sunderland will be Talby and Mayenda. Arsenal versus Leeds United. What a game this will be. Arsenal did not play their best against Manchester United, although they got the win, so they could take the positives out of that. However, Leeds United were all over Everton last game. However, just scraping a 1-0 win. Leeds United will underestimate in this game. They will be good this game. This will be a fantastic game. I think this game will be a draw, actually. And I'm still saying that Gyökeres will not score this game. I'm saying it will be a 2-2 draw. Gyökeres still not scoring. It will be Odegaard and Saka. And then for Leeds United, it will be Tananka and Wilfried Gnonto. Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest. Crystal Palace were unlucky to win at Stamford Bridge. Their free kick was disallowed, sadly, which it probably shouldn't because of the new rule. I don't get what the new rule is. And they also looked good in that game as well. However, the only thing I'm taking out of this matchup, Crystal Palace, out of their 13 games they've played against Nottingham Forest, have only won once. And that was all the way in December 2011. So yeah, Crystal Palace have probably one of the worst records against Nottingham Forest. And I think that record is going to continue. But Nottingham Forest, they have made a couple new signings since the first game week. They've signed James McAtee, and they've also signed Omari Hutchinson as well from Ipswich, which those two are going to be great signings. I think McAtee is going to score on his debut in this game, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. The poor form against Nottingham Forest for Crystal Palace will continue. The goal scorer for Crystal Palace will be Sarr, and the goal scorer for Nottingham Forest, as I've just said, will be McAtee. Everton versus Brighton. Now, Everton weren't the best against Leeds. They were absolutely demolished. Not in scoreline terms, but in stats terms, if we're going off stats. But Everton looked okay. Of course, Jack Grealish making his debut. I did not expect anything from him. He rarely did a thing. But yeah, Everton were okay in this game. However, Brighton, they got an unlucky draw against Fulham, which they should have won that game. However, it was a 97th minute winner from Rodrigo Muniz for Fulham. The head-to-head record for both of these sides, Everton have won 7 out of 16 matchups, and Brighton have won 5, with the other 4 being draws. And I think this one will be a 5th draw. It'll be a 3rd draw I've predicted in a row this game week. It'll be another 1-1 draw. For Everton, I think Jack Grealish will finally get his first goal at Everton in this game. And then for Brighton, I've gone with the first predicted own goal. I'm saying Keane will score an own goal. Probably from either a miscommunication, or a Brighton player will take a shot and it will deflect off of Keane's foot. Fulham versus Manchester United. This will be a fantastic game. Although Manchester United did not win against Arsenal, we looked brilliant that game. We looked absolutely brilliant, and Bournemouth shined, Cunha shined, everyone did shine. Everyone was great that game, except for Binder. We need a new goalkeeper. Let's just say the record for Fulham against Manchester United since 2010 is not good. Out of 21 matchups, Man United have won 16 of them, 4 of them being draws, and Fulham's only win was the most recent matchup when they beat us in the FA Cup on the 2nd of March. Or actually, no, it's not counting that. They did beat us in the Premier League in February 2024. But still, other than that, Fulham have not won against us. Well, they've only won basically 2 games against us since 2010. And I think that misery for Fulham will continue. Fulham did get a lucky draw against Brighton, scoring in the very, very last minute. But I don't think some of that heroics will happen again. I'm saying it will be Fulham 1, Man United 3. Fulham's scorer will be Iwobi, and then for Man United, I've gone with a Bruno Fernandes brace and Cunha to score as well. I think one of the Bruno goals will be a penalty though, and then the other one will probably be just inside the box. Final game, the one we've all been waiting for, basically. Newcastle versus Liverpool. The head-to-head matchups, Liverpool have won 17 out of the 29 matchups. Newcastle have won 5 and the other 7 have been draws. Newcastle's last win against Liverpool was on the 16th of March. And their last win against Liverpool in the Premier League at St James's Park was in December 2015 when Newcastle won 2-0. But yeah, that was against a Liverpool side who finished, I think it was 8th that season. But yeah, Liverpool, they're going to definitely win again at St James's Park. With Newcastle not having Isak, and also they don't really have a proper striker except for 22-year-old William Osula. So yeah, this won't be a good match for Newcastle, I must say. It will be a 2-0 win to Liverpool from goals from McAllister and another goal for Ekitike, making his 2nd goal in the Premier League. Anyways, let me know your predictions for Game Week 2 in the comments. And also, I forgot to say this during when I was talking about the games, there's going to be 4 watch-alongs this week. The first one is going to be Manchester City versus Tottenham. The second will be Crystal Palace versus Nottingham. The third one will be Fulham Man United. And the fourth one will be Newcastle Liverpool. But yeah, I'm predicting for this game week, I don't think I'm going to get many points in the point system. I think I'm going to get like 25 or 30. Let me know how many points you got for game week 1 and if you're following up with this system. And yeah, thanks for watching and subscribe for more of these videos. We've made like, I don't know, 6 in the last week. I forgot what I was going to say at the end.